Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is going to be my team builder in battle for the finals of the MPL season number 7. This is the finish line, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we're going to lay it all on the line. We're going to try and cap off this roller coaster of a season, potentially with a championship. Would pair very nicely with my 2 other championships that I've earned in Sun and Moon. One I earned in UPC. Back before Ultra Sun and Moon came out, and then the other one I earned last season in UBL season number 2 after Ultra Sun and Moon came out. We have a very tough opponent ahead of us who is going to try and stop us from collecting yet another championship here. That is Sebi, or Sebi VGC as he's sometimes known. I think back in the day he used to go by Blue Victini. It's funny because Blue Victini is still his avatar on Discord, so I always think of that name when I see him. But he's a very talented battler. He won the minor Pokemon League, I guess you could say it's the MPL as well. It was the minors division of this league here. He was able to win that, and he's propelled himself a little bit to the championship once again. He had a really great season. He went 8-1 to get the top seed in the other division. He had a ridiculous differential, like a plus 30 something differential. It's totally nuts, and I think he has the best team I've ever seen. I've been talking about Automatic's team and how good that thing was, but this team I think is even better. So let me just read it off top to bottom for you guys real quick. He has Weavile, Raichu, Mega Kangaskhan, Volcarona, Lando T, Tapu Fini, Swampert, Weezing, Machoke, Reuniclus, and Ferrothorn. So yeah, there's really not a weak link on the team. He has really great defensive synergy all around. Like Ferrothorn and Swampert's a really awesome core. It's a core that I have right now in UBL. So it's just very tough for certain Pokemon because you don't know what typings you want to run. Like you kind of choose to pick coverage for one or the other most of the time. Tapu Fini, really bulky. Lando, very bulky. Kangaskhan, very bulky. Ability to run Wish Pass and things like that. Weezing, Reuniclus, just so much bulk. But like the offensive potential there is also off the charts. Just with like setup sets of Kang, Weavile, Lando, Calm Mind Fini, Calm Mind Reuniclus, all are extremely, extremely spooky. Obviously, Quiver Dance Volcarona is also a huge threat. It's hard to even say like what's the one threat that's biggest from his team. Like everything is equally scary. I think for the team that I've brought, Volcarona does have the potential to be scariest. I'm also feeling underprepped for Kang in general. I'm going to be trying to prevent that thing from getting too many boosts, and then I guess I have to revenge heal it from Hawlucha and hope that he doesn't have Protect, because that could be a major problem. Weavile also is extremely scary. Like, Weavile switches don't really exist in general. Just stuff like Primarina and Azu and things like that have like a perfect typing to try and deal with it. Klefki is another good example. But for like, Primarina and Azu, he could run like Poison Jab in theory. Obviously, I don't have either of those Pokemon, so it's not irrelevant, but I'm just bringing it up as examples of stuff that can kind of check Weavile, but the Weavile with the right coverage moves can break through those checks. So anyway, there's a couple things on paper that look pretty good. Like he only has 1 flying resist, being Raichu. So like Hawlucha on paper seems good, but like Hawlucha's not really going to be able to break through like Fini plus Reuniclus plus Weezing. Plus 2 acrobatics is not also not going to be able to break like Ferrothorn or Swampert. So like it's hard to run like a setup set of Hawlucha. If I wanted, like he only has, I think, like 2 ground immunities, being like Lando and Weavile. Not Weavile, Lando and Weezing, the other Pokemon on his team that starts with a W. But like, so like my Gliscor could be potentially good, but Gliscor is completely mitigated by that Weavile. So yeah, there's just like some weaknesses on paper that his team has, but he's able to cover them like pretty easily, I think, which makes it a little bit harder to team build. And so I found, I think, a couple of cheeky win cons that I'm going to try and exploit here in this matchup. And we're going to hop right on into it now. So first I have a pretty bulky but kind of fast Mega Blastoise. By kind of fast, I mean it's fast enough to outspeed Tapu Fini by like 5 points. I have enough bulk on this thing to be able to take like a +1 Life Orb Bug Buzz. And we also are able to take hits from Weavile extremely well with our spread. The nice thing about Blastoise is that it does resist the Ice-type stabs from Weavile if it wants to go for Icicle Crash or Ice Shard or whatever. And then because I have a Mega Stone that can't get knocked off, I take reduced damage from knockoff. So I'm able to use Blastoise as a relatively good switch into Weavile. In a perfect world, I would use like a Rest Talk Blastoise to deal with Weavile. I had a similar situation happen in a previous playoff match in a different league back in UBC Season 5, I want to say it was. I got into a semifinal match versus Vepsis. He's a buddy of mine. I've known for a long time. He's now in UBL. He was the runner-up in the UBL D League. He was able to counter my Weavile with a Rest Talk Blastoise. Mega Blastoise, that is. But obviously, me having the Tapu Koko preventing sleep, and then him having the Tapu Fini preventing any status at all, is going to hinder or something like a Blastoise with Rest Talk. Tapu Fini is a pretty good switch into Blastoise the most of the time anyway, so yeah, not really ever going to be able to get that off. We do have HP Grass to try and hit that Tapu Fini just a little bit harder. It's also there as a way to hit Swampert as hard as possible, so that's very nice. I put Aqua Jet in the last slot. Because if he does have a setup Volcarona, if for some reason he wants to set up in front of me, try and get the special defense boost, Hydro Pump I think does like 70 or 75% min to like a +1 Spadef Volcarona, and then Aqua Jet is going to be able to polish him off from that range. Most likely he's not going to be sitting up in front of Blastoise, but let's say he's in front of a Piloswine. Or something else that he can get that it can one shot. I switch into Blastoise as he goes for +1, and then he tries to hit me with that Bug Buzz. I survive, throw off the Hydro Pump, and then finish off with the Aqua Jet. That's kind of how it goes. He could be Pasho Berry, but I don't think that's very likely. He'll either want the damage boost, or he'll want something like Koba Berry. Koba Berry makes a lot of sense to deal with like a +2 Hawlucha, +2 speed, I mean. Or a potential choice Scarf Tapu Koko with Brave Bird. So if he does bring Volcarona, those are the two sets that I'm mainly expecting. So yeah, Blastoise is just very good offensively versus him, and is bulky enough to take plenty of hits. So I like this Pokemon's place on the team this week. Then I have a Spadef Piloswine. This is kind of like the primary response, I guess you could say, to Volcarona. We do not die to a +1 Life or Fire Blast. I think if it's either 1 Rock Switch-In or 2 Rock Switch-Ins that we can take and still take that hit from Volcarona. And then we can kill it with Rock Slide, assuming it has no bulk investment, which is quite nice. We also have a little bit of defense on this thing. This allows us not to get two-shot by Low Kick from Weavile. So yeah, Piloswine, really great this week. Just like really fat and bulky and annoying. So that's quite nice. Yeah, Piloswine's been one of my sturdiest members this season. I think it has the most kills of anything on my team. It has like 8 kills, which is pretty awesome, I gotta say. I've really enjoyed having Piloswine on the team this season after having it in BBL. So regardless how this game shakes out, Piloswine is going to be a Pokemon that's near and dear to my heart. Definitely going to try and draft it again in the future. This is where things start to get a little bit cheeky. So I have a Sub-Baton Pass Hawlucha with Citrus Berry. So, like I was saying, like Acrobatics Hawlucha is just pretty potent versus the team in general, and so I don't want to deny myself the opportunity to win with Hawlucha if the situation arises. But mostly I want to use Hawlucha in a support role to support 2 setup sweepers that I have at the back. I have my Muck and I have a Gliscor that are both pretty good potential setup sweepers. So yeah, if I can use Sub-Baton Pass to get subs into those things, I can potentially get up some free setup, because his main switches to this thing are going to be Finny, Weezing, and Reuniclus. So versus Weezing, I have a really safe switch into Gliscor. I resist its stab move. I don't even take a 25% from a Flamethrower on that thing if he chooses to go for Flamethrower to try and break the sub on my Gliscor. If he wants to go into Reuniclus, I can easily Baton Pass into my Muck, and then Muck doesn't really care about anything that Reuniclus tries to do. I can set up for free versus that thing. We have enough speed on here for Volcarona and his Kangaskhan, so we'll be outspeeding both of those by 1 point. We have enough defense on this thing to either take a +4 or a +6 Sucker Punch from Mega Kangaskhan. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but that's why this defense was here. And then, yeah, there's the rest was into attack. So, definitely a cheeky set this week. Yeah, I don't really even need Unburdened for this thing to win, but it is kind of nice if I set it up. But that's why I wanted the Citrus Berry to try and potentially get off the Unburdened, but just also to give me 1 extra substitute if the situation arises during the game. Next, I have a Farium Z Tapu Koko. So this is mainly functioning as a lure set this week. And so the main thing that's preventing my 2 setup sweepers is mainly Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is definitely extremely annoying in this match. I can't hit that thing extremely hard, and it can do some annoying damage back with Iron Barbs. So I have HP Fire on this thing to try and lure that. But I'm basically just trying to lure the entire team in general. I have Grass Knot there to hit Swampert as hard as possible. I have Dazzling Gleam with the Ferium Z, so I can throw it off versus something like Lando T and get the most damage possible off versus that thing. And then I didn't want to leave myself without any momentum options, so instead of T-Bolt, I went with Volt Switch. Having the Electric Stab this week was also really important just because Tapu Fini is a little bit of a problem. You can look at my first 3 Pokemon, and none of them really do much to Tapu Fini. Even Blastoise, like with HP Grass, doesn't do much. And yes, I'm bulky, but like Moonblast from Tapu Fini still does a good bit. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be like a setup sweeper this week, but I do like it as an option. The fact that it's Fairy type and it can outspeed Kangaskhan is nice. So that way it can't like kill me with Sucker Punch. If I get it to a sufficient range, I can throw off my Twinkle Tackle versus that thing as well. So that's the thought process of Tapu Koko. Just enough speed on here for Weavile. Nothing too special there. Yeah, and then my 2 setup Mons, I have Curse Recycle Muck. This by itself isn't too special. Like Curse Recycle is a very well-known set. I EV'd this thing so that way when I get to +1 Fizdef, I cannot die to 2 Earthquakes from Lando once my Berry procs. So I should take like 75% max from that, get the 50% Berry, and get back up to 75%, and then he won't be able to kill me with the second one. So I really like this option on Muck. Hopefully I can get to the point where I get off enough boosts so that way I don't get into that position. But like if he goes hard Lando as I have my Muck going for Curse, then that's the situation that I'm coming to. Knockoff and Poison Jab are my 2 coverage moves of choice. I really wanted to run Facade over P-Jab. Just in case like he has Volcarona and I get burned by Flame Body, or if he's got Scald on Swampert, or like a Wheezing with Will-O-Wisp or anything annoying like that. But I felt a little bit too vulnerable to Tapu Fini. Like, yes, like, what can Tapu Fini really do back to Muck? I guess, you know, it can taunt, or it can haze, or knock off. Those are all annoying things. And that's what motivated me to go for Poison Jab. Like, yes, Facade, I could eventually wear it down, but I liked Poison Jab better. Basically, right now, I only have Volt Switch on Tapu Koko to do, like, really strong damage to it. So that's the thought process there. This is a very, very strong win con, I think. And like I said, I should be able to bring this thing in on Reuniclus after Reuniclus switches in on my Hawlucha. And depending upon the EV spread on a Tapu Fini, I could potentially take a Moonblast from that without it breaking the sub. So we'll see how that goes. It could definitely come in handy. Then last but not least, I have a Taunt Roost, SD, Facade, Gliscor. So his only normal resist on the team is Ferrothorn. I don't think I mentioned normal amongst the like typings that he was generally weak to, but he's definitely weak to normal. And so I wanted to run a set with Facade on Gliscor. And that's why also Facade on Muck was pretty appealing, just because it could hit pretty much everything extremely hard, especially if I got burned. But yeah, double that for Gliscor. I can get off the Toxic Orb, get Poison Heal off, and then have a boosted Facade. And then, yeah, he really just doesn't have anything to switch into it. If he wants to, like, haze me with something annoying, like Tapu Fini or Wheezing or anything like that, I can taunt it, prevent that from happening. I was going to run Substitute over Taunt to begin with, but that's before I came with the idea of Subpass. So, because just having Taunt on the team in general as well is useful. I can prevent Ferrothorn from going for hazards. I can prevent Reuniclus from going for too many boosts and things like that. We have plenty of speed on this thing. I think we have enough even for, we have enough for max speed Lando. I don't remember exactly. I think this defense EVs is so that I live a Supersonic Sky Strike from Lando. Yeah, and then just put the rest of Spit F and 4 into attack. Obviously, the elephant in the room here is Weavile. Like, Weavile can kill any set of Gliscor, basically. Not a major issue for him. But I'm hoping I can get up rocks early enough, so that way anytime Weavile wants to switch in, it takes 25%. And then I've got a couple of decent ways to pressure it, like my Blastoise. Well, Piloswine switches in on it. Muck, it doesn't want to get knocked off, but it can take basically one of anything from Weavile. Or if he like feels pressure to go into Weavile early, to deal with my Muck and knock it off. If I can get off a big P-Jab versus Weavile, that puts my Gliscor in a really good position to win. So, yeah, not the most obvious win con, but I think if I can get rid of that Weavile, he doesn't really have a great way of hitting Gliscor, as long as I get a SD to hit like Tapu Fini and stuff. So, yeah, that's basically the team. I went kind of extra in-depth, and I also just went kind of slow in general. I'm like, my energy levels are low right now. Hopefully you guys don't mind too much. You just listen to the bellowing sound of my deep voice and become seduced into watching, but I digress. We're going to now flip on into the battle, and Seppi has chosen to bring his Ferrothorn, Lando T, Tapu Fini, Swampert, Mega Kangaskhan, and Weavile. So, very relieved right off the bat not to see the Volcarona, because that was like one of the scariest threats that he could have possibly brought. Of course, like, you look at the rest of his team, like, it could look basically like a straight-up OU team. Like, I don't really... it's definitely, like, one of the strongest teams I've ever seen. He didn't bring some of his potential Tapu Koko counters, like Spadef Raichu or anything like that, but just the combination of Lando plus Swampert plus Ferrothorn should be enough on paper to deal with Tapu Koko, so I'm not surprised that he decided to bench it. Just because, yeah, it's very hard for me to hit all those Pokemon. I've done the best that I can to give myself the best chance of hitting all 3 of those Pokemon with having the Ferium Z plus the HP Fire plus the Grass Knot. So we'll see if that pays off or not. He didn't bring his Weezing or his Reuniclus, which are like my main 2 targets to sub-pass with Hawlucha. So it's a little bit of a bummer that ended up not happening. But it is what it is. Like, Tapu Fini can still kind of be exploited by Muck. It depends on exactly what spread he runs. Like I said. Do I have any other major thoughts going into this? No, I think that's basically it. So yeah, like I said, I would like to get up rocks pretty soon. And that way I can pressure that Weavile, and that can get my Muck or my Gliscor in a good position to win. In terms of leads, I do want to lead with Hawlucha. So basically, versus anything I can, like, besides like Tapu Fini, I can like set up a sub turn 1. I guess, like, Weavile, I wouldn't really want to, like, stay in versus that, but I've got, like, my Blastoise as a pretty reliable switch in to Weavile, so that's not such a big deal. Versus Kang, I probably threaten that out. Lando can't really touch me unless he's Fly Z, in which case I can just sub. He goes for the Fly Z, and then he can't hit me the next turn, so I'll go for a second sub. Yeah, then, like, versus Ferrothorn, it should scare him out. Swampert, he's probably just going to want to click rocks versus me, to be honest. So he's probably not going to try and hit me with an attacking move. I do am immune to the Earthquake, obviously. Yeah, and Finny is kind of the only other problem. I think I'll just hard Baton Pass if he has Finny, and I'll go into my Muck. So we're going to wish good luck, have fun to Seppi. We're going to hit play and hop right on into this battle. So, yeah, this is going to be a real nail-biter of a game. He didn't bring everything that I hoped he would. Like I said, the Weezing and the Reuniclus would have been really nice for him to bring so that I could best take advantage of this sub-pass. But we're going to do our best to work around it. He does lead his Ferrothorn versus my Hawlucha, which is pretty good for me. This is one of the situations I definitely wanted because it does let me get up a substitute basically for free. He's not going to want to stay in and take a Drain Punch or High Jump Kick. So I do get up my substitute as he goes into his designated counter to Hawlucha, which is his Tapu Fini. So I'm going to take this as a chance to Baton Pass into my Muck. He could potentially break my sub with the Moonblast, depending upon what his spread is. I think like with Uninvested, it's like a 50-50 roll for me to survive with my sub intact. He does throw off the Moonblast here, and he is going to hit me, and that is going to break my substitute. So it doesn't tell me too much about his spread, because like I said, even the Uninvested has a small chance to kill. But anyway, I don't think he's going to want to stay in here and potentially take the Poison Jab, so I'm just going to throw off a knockoff to either knock off that thing's item or whatever wants to come in here next. And the Swampert is what decided to come in. Knocking off the thing's Wiki Berry is really nice for its longevity. Swampert is a relatively annoying member for my team, because I don't have a Grass type in general, you know, on my roster of 11 at all. So anyway, I go into my Blastoise expecting him to click EQ. He just goes for Rocks instead. Very nice play on his part to get off that Stealth Rocks damage. Going to be annoying for my entire team. He's going to go back into Finny, which does beat most sets of Blastoise 1v1, but I am going to be clicking the HP Grass here. HP Grass is my best option for hitting the Swampert that's in front of me, and it does cover this switch into Tapu Fini as well. It doesn't really do that much damage still. It does like maybe 30%, going back up to like 20, you know, like going back up to like 75% total health after the leftovers, so that's definitely pretty annoying. I could have just stayed in and gone for another HP Grass, but I do want to try and keep my Blastoise around for later. But he makes a smart read, and he doubles into his Swampert, expecting my Muck to want to come in. So that's a really nice play on his part. He just throws off a Scald. He probably wasn't expecting me to stay in. Like if I had gone into, for example, Hawlucha as he went for EQ, I could potentially take advantage of that and go for another sub, depending upon what my spread is. His Scald might not break the sub or anything like that. But I decided to make a pretty bold play and go for a Curse here. And so, because of how much Fizz-Def investment I have, even without the Curse boosts, I would be in a position where I can live the first Earthquake, get the +1, get my Figgy Berry off, and then be at a range of HP where I can live the next EQ, and click Recycle to get my Berry back. And so yes, he is like threatening me offensively, but I can still set up on him just because of my bulk investment. And so he is going to go for Scald a second time here. He is going to land the Burn, which stinks, of course, but it's Scald. Like, I'm not going to complain about Scald burning. That's why you run it. The only reason that I'm a little sad is because my Muck did have Facade on it for a lot of the team building process, and I only at the last moment decided to take it off for the Poison Jab for that Tapu Fini, like I mentioned in the team builder. But it is what it is. If I had Facade, I would have been able to do a lot more damage to his team at this point. But after he gets out the Burn off on me, he does go into his Kangaskhan. And so, like, the only reason he would potentially go into this Kangaskhan here is if it's like a power-up punch set. That's the only way he's going to be able to break through my curses. And so, that's definitely what I'm expecting to come out here, and that is indeed what he's going to click. He's going to be able to boost up versus my Muck. It doesn't do very much damage just yet. But yeah, like, because I am burned, I don't have a great way to actually threaten this Kangaskhan right out. But I am at +3/+3. I am going to click Recycle to get my Berry back. And I'm at basically at full HP. And so, depending upon what sort of spread he is, he has to go for either for more power-up punches. He can't, like, if he had Earthquake with, like, an Adamant Nature, I still don't think that would kill me at this range of HP. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember the calc. But because this thing is starting to boost versus me, I'm feeling pressure to try and attack it. I only do like 30 to 35% with this thing. Obviously, the burn really sucks. But it should still do more damage than that if this were a fully offensive variant of Kangaskhan. So this is definitely looking to be pretty bulky. And so that makes sense just because it's harder for me to kill a bulky Kangaskhan. Makes me wonder what his last two moves are. So he's shown Power Up Punch. He probably has Normal Stab. Yeah, the one here his last two slots. But I do land the Poison with a Poison Jab, which is really nice. Depending on what his last two moves are, again, this could potentially mean that I can actually beat this Kangaskhan 1v1. And even though like he's probably going to be weakening me quite a bit, if I can use Muck to beat a Mega Kangaskhan, I'm pretty happy with that result. And that's actually what's going to happen here. He's going to throw off the return, and it doesn't one-shot me. It worked out perfectly, so that way the burn damage dropped me below 50%. I got my Berry off, basically got to full HP. He threw off the return, showing that he's not max attack, and I do survive and kill him with a combination of Poison Jab plus Poison damage. So, you know, Muck, even though it's kind of done, it's kind of toast, it did a great job and was able to eliminate that Kangaskhan, so definitely pretty nice. He goes into his Swampert and throws off the EQ. I guess I could have gone into Hawlucha or something predicting that, but decided not to. So here I make kind of a tough or weird play by going into my Tapu Koko. I guess I could have gone into Blastoise to click HP Grass versus this thing, but I wanted to try and get like a little bit of momentum and like potentially weaken the Ferrothorn. And so I figure if I go into Tapu Koko, my Grass Knot's pretty obvious. He should want to go into the Ferrothorn, and then I would hit it up with the HP Fire. But he has some SPDF investment on this thing that allows him to live a non-boosted Grass Knot. Or it was some kind of roll with the Grass Knot. So he decides to stay in and click EQ versus me, and I definitely get punished for an over-aggressive play. I felt like I needed to make a play like that to get myself an edge, but it obviously backfired for me there. And I lose my Tapu Koko, which without Muck is my best remaining way to weaken this Tapu Fini. Without this, like, my last four members are Piloswine, Hawlucha, Blastoise, and Gliscor. Pretty much none of them can do anything to Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini could one-shot 3 of those. Blastoise is basically the only thing that doesn't get one-shot. It comes in on my Aura Sphere, and then I go for HP Grass as he doubles into his Ferrothorn. So he's making lots of good doubles versus me. First, he made the double into Swampert versus my Muck earlier in the game, and now he's making doubles versus my Blastoise. Kind of out of just frustration, I stayed here and click Aura Sphere. I know that a Power Whip won't kill me, and then I can two-shot this thing with Aura Sphere. But the fact that my Blastoise is now so weak means that it can't really do anything to the Tapu Fini anymore, which is definitely bad because, like I said, my other 3 members don't really do anything to Tapu Fini. And so he is going to go actually into his Lando rather than go straight into his Tapu Fini. I'm just going to throw off an Aqua Jet. If he chooses to set up, like I guess I could have clicked Hydro Pump. But I didn't think he would do that. I thought he would just come in and basically revenge kill me. And that's what he does. He clicks U-turn. So this is probably a Scarf Lando. Scarf Lando is a pretty reasonable set for outspeeding Max Speed Coco and things like that. It can throw off fast U-turns versus Latios on my team. So definitely respect the Scarf Lando in this matchup. And then he's able to go right on into his Tapu Fini. And like I said, Tapu Fini is basically in a position where it can polish off my team. I think I've gotten 2 knockouts versus his team. Yeah, I've gotten the Kangaskhan and I've gotten the Ferrothorn. But it's going to be awfully tough for me here to try and get another kill. I go for the substitute because going for the substitute lets me eat my Citrus Berry, and then I can throw off an Acrobatics that is powered up relative to its base form of just 55 base attack. And that gets the most amount of damage off on this Tapu Fini. But obviously that's not going to be able to kill it. It's only going to do like 30 or 40% damage or so. He's going to be able to get leftovers after this turn and get back to almost 50%. And yeah, Moonblast is obviously going to kill me here. And so, yeah, the Tapu Fini is going to be kind of problematic. I go into Gliscor just as sort of a last-ditch effort, and I click SD. Again, I shouldn't be able to win in this situation, but maybe if I get off an SD and he doesn't go for Scald or doesn't kill me with Moonblast or anything or Surf, whatever, and then I can kill it somehow with Facade, which it is looking like I can. Like a Fizz Def Fini should take like 55% min from like a +2 Facade, and then he goes into his if he goes into his Weavile and like misses Icicle Crash, like Gliscor can still potentially pull it off, but he shows the really nice tech of knockoff on his Tapu Fini to knock off my Toxic Orb. Not only does that prevent me from getting recovery, but it prevents me from getting my boost on my Facade. So it was even more valuable for him to click the knockoff there than he knew. It's very, very annoying. He goes into his Lando, and I didn't know exactly what move he was going to go for. I thought he might be like going for Scarf HP Ice, and so I decided to go into my Piloswine to try and take that HP Ice, and maybe that would give me some leeway for the rest of the game. But he actually just goes for the Explosion. And Piloswine does survive that, but not without taking some major damage in the process. And so it does lower the differential a little bit. It's now 3 Mons on his side versus a 2 on mine. And that 2 quickly became 1. And it's probably not much of a spoiler at this point to say that that 1 is now going to become 0. Because my Gliscor cannot threaten this Tapu Fini at this point. But yeah, like I thought maybe I could make something happen if I go into Piloswine there, but the Explosion was a really nice play, without a doubt. And yeah, he's going to throw off the Scald versus me, take out my Gliscor, and that is going to result in a 3-0 loss for Choice CJ and your Baltimore Oriolus. So, I mean, definitely a disappointing result. Like, obviously I would have liked to have won. I'm keeping this loss in perspective, though. At the end of week 6 in MPL, I was 2-4 and definitely not expecting to make playoffs. And so not only did I rattle off 3 straight wins to make playoffs, of course with some help. It was unfortunate that Fizzle sort of had some issues at the end of the season, and he fell out of the 3rd spot. But then for me to go on and not only win a playoff game, but win 2 playoff games into this championship game is pretty awesome. It's, a pretty good lesson in terms of, you should never give up on your season, no matter how bad it looks, just because you could always potentially turn it around and make a run. There was a few turns in the game that maybe I wish I could have taken back. I think going into Tapu Koko when I did was a mistake. Like, I don't regret clicking HP Fire. Like, I think I needed to make a play once I went into my Tapu Koko. But I probably should have tried to go into Blastoise instead of Tapu Koko, just because that is a much less it's like a lower risk play overall. Like going into Tapu Koko was a very high risk play, and like I said, once that thing was gone, Tapu Fini was a problem versus my team. It was able to kill my Hawlucha, it killed my Piloswine, and it killed my Gliscor in the end game there. So yeah, without the Muck, without the Koko, it was a major issue. It would have also gotten the kill on Blastoise if he had chosen to if he had not chosen to go into Lanto. But I guess going into Lanto there made more sense because he could guaranteed outspeed me, throw off the U-turn, and then keep Tapu Fini at as much HP as possible. I did have enough speed to outspeed the 0-speed Fini, and I could throw off HP Grass versus it and do just a little bit more damage. So it was definitely the right play to go into the Lando there. Other than that, yeah, like I don't really have that many regrets about the game itself. Like he made some good doubles that I don't feel like too bad about. Like he was rewarded with those plays. Obviously having the Facade on the Muck and prep would have been really nice. Like that basically would have let me keep my Muck, in that Kangaskhan would not have been able to beat me. I would have been able to 2-shot it easy instead of having to 3-shot it, and then that meant that he couldn't have boosted so much. I would have been in a very good range of HP versus that Kangaskhan. And then yeah, like what else was he gonna do? Like he had to sack like one or two Mons in order to be annoying versus me. Like even Lando at that point, like I guess it depends on the amount of HP that my Muck was at. But even Lando might not have been able to kill me there. And if he does, like he throws off a lot of damage versus me, and then I'd kill it with Facade. Or he would have to sack off potentially his Fini or his Weavile to get the knockoff versus me, so I no longer have my Berry. And if I could weaken either of those two things, that puts me in a really great position. Like the Hawlucha in particular was looking really good if I could have gotten rid of that Fini, and with the Kangaskhan being gone. Like the Kangaskhan turned out to be Wish Protect, so that would have been a pretty good counter to High Jump Kick on Hawlucha. But without that, without the Fini, sub with High Jump Kick or a sub with Acrobatics would have been a really nice. So yeah, just he played really well. If I had not made a couple of the moves that I had made, maybe it played out differently. But overall, yeah, I'm mostly just happy that I got this far. And yes, it's a bummer I didn't get the championship, but I think that the showing that I had at the late part of the season and through playoffs, kind of showed both the sort of battler that I was. The worst part about all of this is that I hacked automatic a little bit to get to this point. I froze his Seismitoad in the semifinals of, in the semifinals of MPL. And so, like, it's not that he would have won if I didn't freeze him, but it would have been a different match, and he could have potentially won. And so, robbing him of the opportunity to face off versus Sebi, when I just ended up kind of getting bopped by him, is a little bit of a bummer. But other than that, yeah, I'm happy with this season. Definitely played odd in some games, but had a lot of close ones that were really exciting. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for my season retrospective and this championship game recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry we couldn't bring another one home for you guys, but we do have UBL still this summer. We're going to be trying to make it back to playoffs and potentially back to the championship in that league. I couldn't remember what the hell they were called. They're called leagues, CJ. You've been doing this for almost 4 years. But yeah, if you're excited to see the Oriolus try and bounce back in the UBL, appreciate if you guys leave a like on the video down below, and if you would drop a sub, that'd be really appreciated. That would help you guys stay up to date on my next UBL game and all of my other latest and greatest gaming and Pokemon content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Big shout out to everybody involved in the MPL this season, especially Gregulator, Aaron Automatic, Blue Rogue. Don't know where you are, what you're up to. We miss you, buddy. But thanks for making MPL what it is today and getting us off to a really good start. Until the next time, I will see you all later.